Now, 10 minutes of non-stop news and your first alert forecast from your Piedmont coverage team. This is News 2 at 11.
The president has made up his mind that tobacco is a drug. Good evening, I'm Tom McNamara.
And I'm Sandra Hughes. Our top story tonight, President Clinton plans to announce by Friday that he accepts recommendations by the Food and Drug Administration to regulate nicotine as an addictive drug. That would give the government enormous power to regulate cigarettes and smokeless tobacco and outlaw most tobacco advertising. Now here in the Piedmont, politicians are outraged. They say President Clinton is taking the wrong approach to curbing cigarette smoking. Night Team reporter Vernon Fraley has been following this story. And Vernon, what's the response you've been getting from local leaders?
Angry responses, Sandra, and everyone we've talked to tonight seems to have the same kind of response. Even though it's an election year, the Republicans as well as Democrats really seem to be coming together on this one. It's an issue that has a lot of people, and not just politicians, a little hot under the collar.
When we've had a 166% increase in drug usage by children 12 to 17 years old in this country, we ought to concentrate on those increases with illegal products and not on legal commodities like tobacco.
Congressman Richard Burr isn't the only politician who disagrees with the president's intention to approve tough new regulations on tobacco. U.S. Senate hopeful Harvey Gantt issued this statement: "I do not support regulating tobacco as a drug. While I support President Clinton, I do not agree with him on this issue." And Governor Hunt issued a similar statement saying, "This is the wrong thing to do, and I'm extremely disappointed and upset that it appears that the president has decided to go the big government route."
It's completely ridiculous.
Ultimately, it's the tobacco farmers who are taking this as a slap in the face. Farmers like Steve Stroxler make their livelihood raising tobacco. It's hard work, and it's always been an honest way to make a living. But if the FDA classifies it as a drug, he's afraid that all that could change.
It has the possibility to hurt us. Anytime that the government regulates a product like this and tries to decrease consumption, which is their aim, I'm sure, eventually it's going to come down to the farm level.
This won't be the first hard-hit tobacco farmers have survived. Troxler hopes this one will soon pass. In his eyes, the alternative is to see his life as a farmer fade away. Well, Piedmont tobacco companies like the one over my shoulders have not responded. They're going to wait until Friday before they make an official statement. Friday is the date that the president plans to announce in full his intentions. Meanwhile, this whole issue has prompted Piedmont smokers to speak out. Night Team reporter Susan McMillan has been following their response to this, and she's at Buffalo's Bar and Grill here in Greensboro, and she continues with our team coverage.
Well, Vernon, you would think that smokers would probably be universally opposed to these proposed regulations that Clinton will probably help to put in effect starting on Friday. But actually here at Buffalo's Bar and Grill in Greensboro, we talked to a variety of smokers who gave us mixed reactions to this action.
I don't think it's a problem. I think that curbing teenage smoking is a good thing for society as a whole, because what it'll do is it'll end up eliminating smoking in the older ages and end up eliminating it in the end. So it's not a bad situation.
I think that he should leave well enough alone at this point in time and let North Carolinians in the South prosper in their own right. And I think everybody's old enough to make decisions on their own. And if smoking's bad for you, which we all know it is, and you choose to smoke, which I do, that should be your choice.
I think if we're going to regulate drugs, we should regulate tobacco. See, we're selling Colombia cigarettes as quick as they're selling us cocaine. So it's a wash. They're both drugs. If you should regulate one drug, you should regulate all the drugs.
Make it illegal for teenagers to smoke. I mean, it's illegal for them to drink. So why not make it illegal? But why do you turn the whole industry over to the Food and Drug Administration? So I don't know. I don't agree with it.
Walt Bowen, by the way, now a former smoker because he has recently quit. Now, it sounds like basically that smokers are opposed to any crackdown on the tobacco industry and their individual rights, but when you throw in the factor of protecting teens and curbing teen smoking, then the issue gets a little more, well, if you will, smoky.
Well, Susan, that's what I wanted to ask. It sounds like President Clinton's regulations are primarily aimed at teen smokers. So how are adult smokers going to be affected by this?
Well, you could say there are going to be some second-hand effects, and that is, for instance, that machines like this, vending machines for cigarettes, will be banned in a lot of places, particularly those where teens frequent. And so it's going to be just as hard for teens as it is for adults to find cigarettes now.
Okay, Susan, thanks for the reaction from people in this area.
Add another state to the list of those suing the tobacco industry. Michigan becomes the 13th state to seek money for smoking-related illness in the poor. The state seeks $14 billion in damages. The Attorney General says he also wants the tobacco companies to tell what they know about the effects of smoking on human health and to stop advertising to children. Kansas and Arizona filed similar suits yesterday, and Oklahoma is expected to do so tomorrow.
Following tonight's top story, let's check your first alert forecast with Randy Jackson. Randy?
Sandra, pretty comfortable in the backyard tonight. Nice little breeze blowing. Temperatures feel pretty good, too. Here's the way the numbers look in the first alert overnight forecast for you. Tomorrow morning, look for a little bit of fog and haze around, otherwise partly cloudy and 67 degrees. By noontime, we'll see partly cloudy conditions and readings in the low 80s. And by 6 tomorrow evening, a rather warm end to the day, 88 degrees with partly cloudy skies all across the Piedmont. We'll check out the forecast and have some other information for you. All that coming up in just a couple of minutes.
Okay, Randy, thanks.
All right.
New tonight, a Fort Bragg soldier could very well spend the rest of his life in a military prison. Private First Class Eric Janot is charged with breaking into a military computer system and handing over secret passwords to the Chinese. Janot denies any wrongdoing. In fact, he says he is not a spy and he was simply trying to point out weaknesses to his superiors. The Pentagon confirms that Janot is facing charges, but they won't say what the charges are for.
What drives a person to try to take the life of another?
Well, that's the question Greensboro detectives are trying to answer. Tonight, William Gartland is charged in a murder-suicide attempt and remains under a suicide watch in the city jail. Detectives say he confessed to leaving his car running inside a garage at his Greensboro home while his 3 children slept upstairs. Now, Gartland is accused of trying to kill his children by monoxide poisoning. Tonight, they're being cared for by family members.
A teenager charged with stealing an exam from a Piedmont high school faces new charges tonight. 17-year-old Cameron Lacomont is already charged with bribery and breaking and entering. Now officials have charged him with 4 more felony counts. He's accused of stealing a state history test from Northwest High School last May and distributing it to his friends. More than 100 seniors were forced to retake the exam, and more arrests are expected in the case.
A lot of college students are headed back to school this week, and that actually means a lot of anxiety for their younger brothers and sisters.
As you can imagine, but a Piedmont college has just the solution. Elon College gave younger siblings of incoming freshmen a tour of the campus today. From the fitness room to the computer room, these kids got the lay of the land and learned the college cheer.
We took them on tours today, trying to show them around the school so that they can kind of relate to where their brother or sister might be, and they can kind of have that to talk about when they're at home, and that just kind of makes them feel a little bit more comfortable, maybe about leaving their brother or sister.
The kids also made farewell cards for their brother or sister and gave them a framed picture of themselves to keep in their dorm room.
President Clinton continues to make good on his 92 campaign promises. Today he signed a bill that allows millions of Americans to keep their health insurance benefits even when they change jobs. The legislation also applies to those with pre-existing medical problems. At a White House ceremony, President Clinton said the law is a long step towards more comprehensive health insurance reform. Nearly 25 million Americans will benefit from the measure. And while President Clinton gets tough on health care issues, the Dole camp is preparing for its campaign swing through the Tar Heel state.
Tomorrow, Elizabeth Dole, the wife of Republican candidate Bob Dole, will make several campaign stops in the state. The first will be here in Greensboro at 10 o'clock with a public rally at the Corey Convention Center. Then the North Carolina native will head to Raleigh, and her final stop will be Charlotte. Meanwhile, Bob Dole and Jack Kemp are campaigning up north.
4 people are dead after a small plane crashes in New Hampshire. As we begin coverage of our world in a minute, a preliminary investigation points towards power failure. The single-engine plane went down shortly after takeoff last night and crashed into a wooded area. Witnesses say the pilot tried to steer the plane away from a nearby town, but there was little he could do. All 4 people on board were killed. A South Florida man remains hospitalized after eating a bowl of General Mills Cluster cereal. Police say somehow sharp metal shards got baked into the cereal. Officials do not suspect product tampering. A toddler was reunited with her mother today, 12 hours after someone stole the car with the child asleep on the back seat. Officials say the mother's boyfriend left the child unattended while he went inside a store. So far, no arrests have been made. Pope John Paul II is up and about after suffering from abdominal pains last week. The pontiff appeared in good health today as he gave his weekly address to some 10,000 people at the Vatican's audience hall. And funk singer Rick James is now a free man. He was released from prison in Northern California today. James says he looks forward to spending time with his family. The singer was sent to prison over 2 years ago after being convicted of holding a woman against her will. James is best known for his 1981 hit, Super Freak.
Call it a melting masterpiece that's almost too fattening to behold. It's a butter sculpture, 800 pounds of dairy product on display at the New York State Fair in Syracuse. The work depicts a young girl and her grandfather enjoying an ear of corn, and it was inspired by a 10-year-old girl who won an essay contest about eating sweet corn on her family's farm. You know, that really is quite a work of art.
It's a lot of butter, isn't it?
An awful lot of butter.
Speaking of butter and a work of art, you remember Dave last night? We talked about Dennis Rodman on there, green hair, and that Dennis was going to have a wedding today, right? And in Rockefeller Center. Hogs highlight, folks. Dennis approaches Rockefeller Center. There were thousands there to greet him. They must have all watched Dave last night. Dennis in full drag, including a blonde wig and a beautiful wedding gown, along with gloves. And that was who he was supposed to marry. She apparently is a stripper in New York. But there is Dennis, never looking better, would you say? Huh? To sign his book, Bad As I Want to Be. Would you look at that? Hogs highlight tonight. Amazing.
Mike, how do you think guys like Michael Jordan and the other players on this team, how do they deal with a guy like this day-to-day playing ball?
I think they do what the rest of us do. That's laugh. What this guy's become like a cult figure, and you know what? He's making zillions off of this.
You know, we would think they would all be embarrassed, but I guess not. He's doing his thing, and then they all have theirs.
Wow.
This thing is weird, though. I don't care what you say.
I'm telling you,
weird.
it was weird, yeah.
More to come, no doubt.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, still ahead tonight, rescuers come racing and hearts are pounding, but it's only a drill to keep a city safe from a chemical spill.
It's a little hazy out here tonight. We'll tell you why and have the full forecast coming up next.
You're watching News 2 at 11 with Sandra Hughes and Tom McNamara. Meteorologist Randy Jackson with your first alert forecast. Night team reporters Susan McMullen, Vernon Fraley, and Stephanie Loftus. Mike Hogwood with your latest sports scores and highlights. This is News 2, your Piedmont coverage team.
Tonight, forget about Regis, forget about Oprah. It's Dave with Mario Van Peebles, supermodel Angie Everhart, and the legendary Beach Boys. Tonight on CBS.
Inventories have reached their peak at your Carolina Ford dealer, and that could only mean one thing.
Okay, open it up.
It's time for factory authorized clearance.
Oh, hey guys.
And he's clearing out the 96s and passing the savings on to you.
Well, that's my job.
Get $1,000 cash back on Ford Taurus, or get $1,000 cash back on Ford Contour. Save on 5 of the 10 best sellers.
Wow, this is big.
So if you're looking to save a lot of cash,
then look for me.
During your Carolina Ford dealer's factory authorized clearance.
Problem. After repeated scrubbing, your paint is wearing thin on you. Solution? One and only paint. It's stain, fade, and soil resistant, and guaranteed to withstand 15 years of frequent scrubbing and scouring without losing its luster. Plus, it's available in thousands of colors. So if your paint won't see you through the next 15 years, get one and only paint only at Lowe's. Lowe's knows it's the only interior paint you'll ever need.
So, this is it, huh? You're off to college.
Yeah.
Pretty high-tech stuff you got here.
Yeah, but the guy at Staples explained everything when I bought it.
Good. Well, good luck.
Isn't Mom gonna say goodbye?
She's still up in your room getting used to the idea.
Well, I love you, Dad.
He's gone. What do you think?
Only 9.5 feet. We're gonna need 10 for the hot tub.
Well, this wall's gonna have to come down.
Staples has compact computers and 7,000 supplies at a guaranteed low price. Staples, yeah, we've got that.
Your sister said the Accord is the #1 retail selling car in America. You waited. Your uncle said 3 Accord models were each named the best overall value in their class. Still you waited. Then came the Honda 96 clearance lease, $239 a month for 33 months and an $1,850 down payment. Your mother said, he's got my brains. Timing is everything at your Honda dealer.
Well, not a bad day across these parts today. Some of you picked up some rain, especially in the north and west parts of the viewing area. Temperatures a little warmer than they've been running over the past couple of days, but you know, we're in the middle of August here, so we really can't complain too much about readings in the upper 80s. Could sure be a lot worse. Here's how things look across the area tonight. We're looking at mostly fair skies. Some haze out here, though. 76 degrees at the forecast center right now. It's 77 in High Point, 75 in Winston-Salem as of this hour, and that's also the report coming from Newland Elementary School in Burlington. 75 hazy degrees outside. Here are the figures for the day today. 87 was our high. You know, we've been running about 84, 85, so just a couple of degrees warmer today. 65 was the low temperature this morning. 100 the record high. It can get warm indeed. 1983 was the year we set that, and we established the record low of 55 back in 1981. Well, one of the real trademarks of a summertime weather pattern is the haze that we see form. And the haze is simply an accumulation of things like dust and salt and auto exhaust. We team a little moisture up into that. All of that tends to collect in the atmosphere. And it does so when the winds are very light. Usually we have an area of high pressure over us. In fact, the air really becomes kind of stagnant, if you will. After all those pollutants and materials kind of conglomerate in an area, we find that the visibility is reduced, and it kind of turns the sky to kind of a milky white or gray color. If you've been out tonight and have gotten a shot at the moon, we can't find it now because there's a couple of clouds over it, you'll notice just how hazy it looks. And of course, you can see that in the summer. Keep in mind that can create some problems for folks that have a difficult time in breathing, especially with the exhaust that tends to build up. So although it gives us kind of a dingy or a gray look to the horizon, it also can cause some real problems for folks. So it's something we really have to watch. That's the case tonight, and here's the big area of high pressure that's anchored over the eastern part of the country. And when we get that big high,